I first fell in love with Bondi when I was a student, a university student, and I was living in a share house close to the beach when Bondi was a little more run down than it is now. The exhibition is titled We Are Bondi, and what I'm trying to get across to viewers of the work is that Bondi is actually a state of mind. It's a feeling, and it's a response to ocean, sand, sun that we have in not just the eastern suburbs of Sydney, but around Australia. When I was in my 20s, I got my first job down in Bondi Beach, which was reading tarot cards at a hippie candle store, incense store, and I would read tarot cards there for passers-by. And I was living in Bronte at the time, and every morning I'd walk from Bronte to Bondi along the cliff coast, the coastal walk, and it was so beautiful being exposed to the wind, the sun, the elements as you were walking to work. I've seen photos of Bondi in the early 1900s when it was just a mass of sand dunes with only one house on the North Bondi headland, which was occupied by Australia's last executioner, who was a social exile on the headland, and was the only one really who wanted to live in the area when there were no other houses. So the current exhibition that I'm putting on in Bondi only came about because my good friend Greg saw my photos on Instagram and wondered if I was doing anything with them. And I told him that I had no plans whatsoever, that I was just enjoying taking photos and putting them on Instagram. But he suggested I actually print them out, put them in a frame, put them on a wall, and see how much people enjoyed them. And the feedback so far has been wonderful, and people love having a piece of Bondi on their wall. I think with my photography now, there is a certain Zen element to them as well, a certain style of simplicity, emptiness, and it's almost like, even though Bondi is a very popular place and a very crowded place, there is still always somewhere where you can feel by yourself, whether it's on the sand or, if you're a surfer, whether you're in the water. Watching surfers standing on the shoreline, very still and very silent before they ran into the water. Just seeing them watching the surf and watching where the currents were going, seeing how high the waves were, where they were breaking. And they were very concentrated in the way they looked at the ocean. And I think I was very interested in capturing that moment of how surfers saw the ocean just before they ran in. And it also suited my personal feelings of wanting to stay close to the shore, because I am a Cancerian, and we crabs like to stay a little bit in the water, but also a little bit on the sand. And with my camera, I'm a happy crab. This picture, which is called Spring Surfer, is probably representative of a lot of the photos I take. It's a clean horizon, it's an empty landscape, and the shapes are what attract me. The sharp angles of the surfboard, the nature of the water, which on any given day it can be ferocious or calm, as can people's moods and emotions. There's a lot of contemplation that happens when you go out surfing. There's a lot of thought that happens between catching the waves. And a lot of surfers I know will go out, even when there's no surf, just to sit out there in the ocean with their board and feel Mother Nature and feel the ocean lapping against their body. It's as if your body is entering into the body of another being, which is the ocean, and which in many cultures has its own mythology and its own god. Moving into that body of water is a very poetic thing as well for me, and I like to capture that, or I aspire to capture that moment as well, of surfers or swimmers entering the water and coming into contact with something that has been part of our collective human consciousness for many thousands of years. And so I've tried to tie in the theme of the whole exhibition, which is a simplicity, a solidity, and a joy that comes from being on the edge of the land and next to the sea.